What is going on, everybody? This is the Phaithful Fanatic Show live here on DSM Media. A win is a win. The Eagles start the season off 1-0 in Detroit with a 38-35 victory. We're going to break the whole game down. Defense, offense, Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Gannon, positives, negatives, that and much, much more when we're back in 30 seconds.
Gets around in front. And Philadelphia has it.
What is up, everybody? As I said, this is the Phaithful Fanatic Show live here on DSM Media on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channel. If you are new to the channel, head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. While you're there, check out the link tree in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive on today's show, head on over to the YouTube channel specifically. Hit that subscribe button, like this video. Again, we greatly appreciate it. I'm one half of your host here, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. To my right, Matt McGinty. Check him out on Twitter @Matt_McGinty. Eagles, Lions, 38-35. Birds victory. Again, a win is a win. That's kind of my thought process here. And I know we're gonna have our back and forth. We're gonna disagree a little bit about the ins and outs of this game, but we can both agree that it does feel good. It's not easy to win in this league. It's not easy to win in any league, right? So you'll take the win for what it is. I just feel like there's too much negativity on the timeline, on Philly Sports Talk Radio, all over the place. There's just too much negativity on a victory Monday. It doesn't make that much sense to me. I get the concerns. We'll get into it. But what's your initial reaction to the win?
I like the line, a win is a win. I think the better line is a win is better than a loss, because that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. We'll get into more finer detail, but to squeak out a win when you put up 38 points against the Detroit Lions is about as much as a red flag as it gets, in my opinion. But again,
you're right. But on the other side of this thing, playoff teams last year against non-playoff teams this year or last year were 1-5 this weekend. The one being the Philadelphia Eagles. So it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a 38-point offensive output loss, and then the world would be crumbling down one way in, right? Or one day in, I mean.
Who are the five teams that lost?
Well, Green Bay lost to Minnesota. San Fran lost to the 49ers. Cincy lost to the Steelers.
Steelers made the playoffs last year.
Did they? Yeah, you're right. So it wasn't them. The Raiders lost to the Chargers, but that wasn't really an upset. They were favorites.
No, that's one of the teams. I didn't even think of that. My fault. Yeah, it took you off track. It was just
no. You're good. But it's just the point that we should just be happy with the win. It doesn't have to be a pretty win, and it never should have been in fans' eyes. So now let's break it down. Okay, let's start on the offensive side of the ball, because that is the more positive side of the way things went yesterday. Again, 38 points. 38 points by an offense led by Jalen Hurts. Yes, he didn't have a passing touchdown. I get that. But he operated this offense, drove him down the field with his arm for the middle part of the game. Obviously, the beginning, he kind of saved the Eagles early on with his legs. And then later on in the game, he just had to kind of ice things by using his legs. But really in the middle portion, the second and third quarter of this game, he was able to air the ball out, move the ball down the field with his arm. And then they'd get to the goal line, they'd get to the 5, and they punch things in with all 3 running backs. That was something I didn't expect to see. That wasn't on my same game parlay card for all 3 running backs to get in the end zone. But thoughts on the offense, positive, negative, what do you got?
I guess I'll jump with the biggest positive, and that's obviously A.J. Brown. He walked the walk from the talk that he was. He looked awesome. He looked like a wide receiver 1. He looked like someone we haven't had in God knows how long.
What would that be, 18 years?
Yeah, when was the last time we had a receiver that could go for 10 catches, 150 yards? Like it.
T.O.
Yeah, they looked on the dot together. They looked in sync. They looked, again, as everyone advertised. They were supposed to be boys. They looked like boys. That was his guy he was looking for, and he found him a bunch. A.J. Brown, again, made some tough catches, caught the ball in space, made plays. It was A.J. Brown was the biggest positive of the entire day, in my opinion. If you want to jump into a positive, you can, because I definitely have some negatives.
Yeah, no, for sure. So offensively, I'm almost all positive outside of one or two little things. But A.J. Brown, I'll start there. He is as advertised, as you said. This dude he's quicker and more agile than I thought. His physicality just jumps off the screen. If you can remember the one play, he almost drug a dude from the 7-yard line into the end zone. I think he got down at like the 1 or the 2. He's just a large human being, and he said it post game. He was upset with himself that he couldn't score because every time he touches the ball, he tries to make a play to score, and it shows with every time he gets the ball. But you're right, and I'll take it a step further. That throw, that what was it, 40, 50-yard toss down the right sideline to A.J. Brown was the best throw I've ever seen Jalen Hurts. That was a dot. Okay, that was a deep ball, one-on-one. Obviously, Brown had the step on the corner, but the corner was right on his back shoulder, dropped it right into the basket. That was a beautiful, beautiful throw. He had a couple other middle of the field slant, cross seam kind of throws on a dot to Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown in stride, which I love. So A.J. Brown as advertised. Miles Sanders obviously got in the end zone, okay, something he hadn't done all of last season. But Miles Sanders had 13 carries for almost 100 yards. Miles Sanders created space almost by himself. The offensive line did not look good. Now, I'm not worried about that at all. That's going to get fixed by tomorrow. I'm not worried about the offensive line. But they were bad. And I remember the biggest run of the game was that third down, or it might have been the fourth. What did they do? No, they QB sneaked it on fourth down. So it was very late in the game when they were trying to ice it, and he kind of got stuck behind the line of scrimmage behind Kelsey and Dickerson, and hesitated for a second, and then bounced it to the left and found a hole. Right, that's something I'm not used to seeing Miles Sanders do. There's always a lot of dancing, a lot of running out of bounds, a lot of just not high IQ type of football plays, and he made a bunch of those yesterday. So Miles Sanders was good, was very good to me. Finally, I'll wrap it up with Jalen Hurts. Obviously, like I said, he was 18 of 32, 243 passing yards. He ran for 90, scored a rushing touchdown, no passing touchdowns. But Jalen Hurts made a couple of throws that I did not see him make all of last season, that I didn't think he could make heading into this season. Obviously, his legs, you're going to get into that, I know, but I thought that was more of a necessity, not a bailing the pocket kind of thing. I thought Detroit brought the house the first couple of possessions. The Eagles' offensive line was not ready for it. And he was able to kind of keep them afloat through the first quarter using his legs, and then opened everything else up with his arm. So I really didn't have a problem with Jalen Hurts at all yesterday. If anything, I thought he showed progression with his arm, and that's kind of the one thing we're looking for this year.
I want to touch on the Miles Sanders thing first.
Yeah.
So he broke off that run towards the end of the game.
Uh-huh.
He just wasn't back on the field.
Didn't make sense to me.
I don't know what that is, though.
Right.
If you're the workhorse back, the RB1 that we all want Miles Sanders to be, you go up to the coach and you say, yo, I went back in this game. Like,
right.
I don't see – and I'm not blaming Miles Sanders because we don't know what happened. We have no clue. But why he wasn't back in the game to me is a red flag. I think it has to do with Miles Sanders. I don't think the personnel would have been like, oh, keep him off the field. This scheme's better for Boston Scott. Like, I don't see that. Also, the snap percentage, I looked at someone tweeted it. It was like 51% for Miles Sanders, 30% for Kenny Gainwell, 18% for Boston Scott. I'm glad Kenny Gainwell is getting a lot of snaps. He looked pretty good yesterday, especially if he can start to block. Block, I should say, he would look way better, and that will just continue to slide in that gap. So that'll be huge. But the Miles Sanders thing was really weird to me.
It was, and real quick, it's not even just the end of the game. It's he scored, and the next possession they went with Kenny G. Like you said, I'm glad Kenny G's in the game, but that moment felt very odd to me. Miles Sanders had a very successful drive the drive before. This isn't This wasn't Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon for the Broncos last year where they split every other drive. This is different. So if Sanders was the hot man, like 13 for 97, what the brain power here is not mustering up that yards per carry, but it's a high ass yards per carry. You're talking what, 6, 7?
Yeah, it was a great game, and ever since, I mean, first of all, it was over 600 days since he had scored the last time before yesterday, but like, wouldn't it have been cool to see Miles Sanders score 3 touchdowns? Like, why couldn't they feed him one of those games and really, like, maybe boost his confidence to be an RB1, this workhorse guy that, again, we all want him to be. And to the Jalen Hurts thing, I think he definitely got happy feet. Again, me and you were talking a little bit before, but I think maybe the atmosphere, it's week 1. The Lions fans are going, first time they've sold out since we were born. It finally felt like, I mean, again, it felt like he just got happy feet, escaping the pocket a little too early for my liking, not going through his progressions. Like, again, maybe a little frantic, but I mean, that's the power of having Jalen Hurts. The dude can get out, the dude can make plays with his feet, and you saw a 3rd and 15 result in a first down by him running, and there was a couple more. I don't think it was a bad game by any means. I don't think anyone is saying he had a bad game, but I still think the book is out.
100%. It's going to be out for 2 more months, 2+ more months. One good game, one bad game isn't going to determine it. It's going to go on throughout like November.
Someone was tweeting like clip by clip almost, and trying to think of when it was. It was in the 4th quarter, and they sent the house, and Jalen Hurts made the one DB look stupid. And it was almost sacked. He made him hit him with a cut, but dude, AJ Brown was wide open at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been a double off. It could have possibly been a first down, but it wasn't. And Jalen Hurts got like 2-3 yards. But that's just those little plays that, again, against the Detroit Lions, not that big of a deal, even though it almost was kind of a big deal. And against a good team, that might bite you. So
Monday night, it could bite you. It
100%.
for sure.
100%.
But just to go back to the first 2 drive kind of thing, 99% of the time, I would agree with you without a doubt, without arguing the other side. What I kind of saw throughout the first possession or two was, a bad offensive line, Detroit sending the damn house play after play after play. Now, I will play devil's advocate and tell you part of that progression I need to see of him as a quarterback, not just with his arm, pre-snap kind of stuff. Dude, if I can sit here with 5 of my friends on and have a television on the wall and be able to tell you, here comes a blitz, here comes 8, here comes 9, here comes 7, you should probably pick up on that after a couple times of having to move with your legs. They didn't really do a good job of having really any quick hitters. Maybe 1 or 2 times they dialed up a screen or a quick slant to AJ Brown, but I don't think the play calling, I don't think Jalen Hurts helped himself pre-snap. But what was he able to do? Kind of weather that storm and navigate this offense with his legs, which is that what I'm looking for him to do this year? No, but in that scenario, I think it was what was necessary. And then I think you started to see the arm and the passing attack kind of come out after the first few possessions. But the offensive line was abysmal yesterday. And all 5. Look, I don't think there was one guy that didn't make a mistake or two on the offensive front yesterday. And I really wasn't expecting that. If there was a group after this long offseason, not doing much in training camp, not really playing outside the first drive of the first preseason game, if there was a group that I thought would be fine, it would not be the veteran savvy offensive line. That was surprising to me. But like I said, that is the least of my, they'll be adjusted by tomorrow. Like they'll be chilling.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that take for sure. One other negative, obviously, we're going to jump into is Devonta Smith, who was
it was weird, man.
In Ghost Town yesterday. And again, it's week 1. It happens. Like there was a lot of people across the NFL yesterday that just had quiet days, which it'll happen. But again, another red flag is, can you remember how we used to bash Carson Wentz all the time because it felt like every single pass he threw went to Zach Ertz?
Mm-hmm.
Like no one wants to see you be a one-trick pony with one guy. I don't think it's a thing. I think, again, it was just one game. Like, who knows what really happened. Maybe he probably missed them a couple times, I'd assume, because he was missing more than his fair share yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, besides only really getting one guy involved, no one else really had like a crazy day. besides AJ Brown, of course.
So Devontae Smith is a very weird subject to me, right? Because he needs to get the ball. Like we witnessed that in Tampa Bay. Obviously, a lot different when now wide receiver one can go out and get you 155 yards on 10 grabs and have a lot of explosive plays mixed in. But you would expect Devontae Smith to be able to get the ball. Now, he did still have 4. It's not a lot, but he did have 4 targets. Would have had a catch if one wasn't for a holding call, right? But I think that'll kind of change week to week. Quez Watkins, I don't know if he made the trip to Detroit. Listen, again, I can't sit here and say Devontae Smith's going to get the ball and then just be like, Quez Watkins will never get the ball. I'm not saying that, but everyone all raved to me. He's a lock over Zach Pascal in June, right? He's wide receiver 3. Quez breakout year. Oh my God, I don't know if I heard his name called yesterday. I don't even remember seeing him on the field. Now I get it. Zach Pascal had 1 freaking catch. One more than Quez Watkins had. You know the difference between Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor yesterday? Nothing. Neither of them had a catch. Quez Watkins, he might have been in Philly yesterday afternoon. So that's the one I was more so surprised than anything. Just because he wasn't I don't know if I saw his number on the field. That was the weirdest part to me. Dallas Goedert. We can go over that real quick. 3 catches, 60 yards. Got tackled at the half-yard line with what would have been a big play for a touchdown. He's the one who I think is going to be more featured in this offense going forward because 3 catches isn't enough for him. Now, again, you won the game. It was A.J. Brown's day. I got it. But Dallas Goedert needs more than 3 touches, especially against a team like Detroit. He gashed Detroit last year. Outside of Aiden Hutchinson and some guys on this defensive front, there is nobody new on Detroit's side of the ball. And there was no one last year to stick with Dallas Goedert, and there was no one this year to stick with Dallas Goedert. So, again, I don't know if it was the pressure, the atmosphere, not being able to get to his second and third reads because of the time in the backfield, in the pocket. But Dallas Goedert definitely needs more than 3 catches. I don't know how many times he was targeted, but nonetheless, 3 for 60 for Dallas Goedert yesterday. Listen, man, at the end of the day, we can break down every player if we want to, and we can give them positives and negatives. This offense did score 38 points. I'll be honest with you, Gint. I predicted it on the pregame show. I don't know how much I believed it. I said Birds 38. I don't know how much I truly believed this offense was going to be capable of putting 38 up on the board in week 1. So that was impressive to me. And obviously they were able to ice the game at the end. They were also, let me give this a quick shout out, very efficient and good on third downs. And not just third and short, third and manageable, 3rd and 15, like you mentioned earlier, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12. All these were scenarios throughout this game, and they were able to pick them up, not just with his legs, but with some big time passes and runs as well. So, and they were also very efficient in the red zone. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Not a lot of empty trips like you saw last year, ending in field goals or turnovers or sacks. So they were good there. Let's get to the more interesting side of things, okay? The defensive side. Now, week 1, do you just chalk it up as that, or what are we to expect here?
Here's my issue with that. The Eagles have, I think they're paying their defensive line almost $50 million.
It sounds about right.
And they didn't have 1 sack yesterday.
Yeah, not a lot of pressure either.
Did Brandon Graham play football yesterday? He might have been with Quez Watkins.
I saw BG maybe 2 more times than I saw Quez Watkins. Not often, but I saw him.
It's such an underwhelming day from that front. Just so underwhelming.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did I see Josh Sweat drop back in the coverage yesterday? Did I?
We'll get in.
Because if I did, there's a problem, okay? Listen, you want to talk about Hassan Reddick in training camp dropping back into coverage. A, that's training camp. B, Hassan Reddick's a linebacker. Little bit, right? Again, he's going to rush the passer 90% of the time, but he has to be able to drop back here. Josh Sweat is a defensive end. Now, I'm not saying that defensive ends have never dropped back into coverage. I don't need to see Josh Sweat drop back into coverage, okay? Let me get that real loud and clear out for everybody and Jonathan Gannon. Don't do that again. Please don't. I don't need to see it, but go ahead.
No, like again, we can break it down player by player if you want, position by position. But Jonathan Gannon was the worst person in that stadium yesterday.
Horrible. Horrible.
Schematically,
Listen,
every single way, Jonathan Gannon was so
terrible.
bad.
Terrible. Here's the thing. We want to talk about the book still out. It's not written on Jalen Hurts yet. The book doesn't have a letter down on Jonathan Gannon. Like these are the two guys we need to see progression from throughout the year. Again, it's week 1. He could come out and things could look totally different a week from today, right? I'm not trying to overly crush it, but all I can do is analyze yesterday. And yesterday showed me he doesn't have a clue. Not a clue, dude. And I'll ask you this. Throughout the game, early on, obviously football's back. The Eagles are struggling early. You're loud, you're energetic, you're into it. Eagles get a 31-14 lead. I got comfortable. The people I was watching the game with got comfortable. Like everyone kind of just like sat back, kind of reclined a little bit. Conversations were going as the game was on because it's not as tense, not as high pressured of a moment, right? It almost felt like that's the energy the defense took on when they got that 31-14 lead. Like because in this, Jared Goff had like 50 passing yards in the first half. Now DeAndre Swift ran all over them. That's another story. But Jared Goff wasn't having any success in the first half or the first 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden they got a 17-point lead and Jared Goff was dart. No pressure. If Sticks defense came out to play again, I mentioned how the Eagles were good on third down. The Lions were like 9 of 13 on third downs yesterday. Anytime the Eagles defense could have got off the field in the third or fourth quarter, they weren't able to yesterday because of the scheme, because it was bad, man. Let's get the positives out of the way defensively, okay? James Bradbury obviously had a pick 6, made a couple plays. He looked good. Kaiser White was all over the field.
This Kaiser White.
And CJ Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had a couple of pass deflections, a couple of breakups, made a couple of big plays over the middle of the field. I liked what I saw out of him. Slay was Slay. There wasn't much to go on with Slay. The defensive front was horrible.
I haven't accepted
Okay, I can't wait to hear this. What?
The Eagles yesterday with Jordan Davis on the field gave up 2.9 yards per rush as opposed to 10 yards per rush without Jordan Davis on the field. And again, that's a shot at Jonathan Gannon. Like personnel usage was garbage yesterday too. I think he only played like 21 snaps or something.
22 snaps, and it equaled like 31 or 32% of the defensive load, okay? Now, listen, we all know he's not a 3-down defensive tackle. We all know he was drafted to be a rotational piece. And although I would like to see him, Fletcher Cox, the ghost of Fletcher Cox was out there yesterday as well. He was horrible. Javon Hargrave, non-factor.
You know who the 2 worst defensive tackles in the NFL that played at least 10 snaps yesterday were against the rush?
Fletcher Cox and who?
Javon Hargrave.
Oh, beautiful. So here's my point. Even though I would like more of a youth movement there, if those 2 guys aren't playing well, I never expected Marlon. Hold on, let me try to get this one right.
Oh, this one's a mouthful.
Tuipulotu. We're going to go with that. I never in a million freaking years expected him to play more than Jordan Davis yesterday. Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, they're the vets. They're the names. All right, they played more than Jordan Davis in week 1. Why is that guy on the field more than your first-round overall pick of this year's draft? Who, like you said, numbers don't lie. They could be some stats can be skewed or misleading. 2.9 yards per carry for the Lions with Jordan Davis on the field. By the way, is that a shock to you? No, because that's his strength in the middle of this defensive line. Compared to 10 without him on the field. That is as crazy of a gap as you could possibly throw at me. And Nick Sirianni tried to come out today. What time is it? It is 5:24. 2 hours ago, an hour ago or so, basically said that there's no correlation. They broke down the film today. They liked what they saw from them. They liked what they saw over here. But as far as that stat kind of goes, they didn't really. That doesn't tell the story. I'm pretty damn sure it tells the story. 3 yards to 10 yards. Bad.
I just don't see how you don't see, like, they need – I don't even know. I don't even know where to go. Jonathan Gannon was so bad yesterday. The defense was – the missed tackles and everything obviously isn't on Jonathan Gannon, but they couldn't tackle anybody yesterday. It was
Right.
bad.
Now,
It was bad.
and that can go back to not doing much this summer. And I'm a guy that I didn't really care. I still don't really care. I said it could show week 1, but they're not going to lose the game. That's what happened. I didn't expect it to be that piss poor. I didn't expect the run defense to be that piss poor. So is that – I broke this down earlier with the offensive line. Not a worry to me. Is the defensive line a worry to you going forward? Or the run defense, let me say? Or do you think that's just something that's going to get
worse
fixed?
than it was yesterday? So I think it can only get better in essence.
It's only up from here.
That makes any sense? Like, dude, DeAndre Swift again. He's a talent. He looked good, but holy smokes, he looked like
dude. So I was putting my parlay together before the game, and just to like juicy up the odds, right? I added DeAndre Swift over 44.5 rushing yards. And I'm sitting there with George and them, and I'm like, I don't want to root against the Eagles, and they're like, throw it in. I mean, I should have put them for 100. I was not expecting DeAndre Swift and that rushing attack. And you know what? Listen, let me throw a jab at Detroit. You like that? That is so disrespectful.
We talked about earlier. Times.
Yeah, it is so disrespectful. Like we talked about Miles Sanders working the ball up and down the field and then rewarding Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell on the goal line. Every single time DeAndre Swift gets the ball inside the 5, they bring in Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams scored 2 tutties yesterday, did he not? That's so disrespectful, bro. Like why would you do that to your man, to your star? But anyway, that's yeah, man. I really don't know what else to say about this defense other than you're right. It can't get worse. Like if the Vikings put up 35, it's still bad, and it probably means more bad news. It probably equates a loss. However, that's the Vikings scoring 35 on your head. That's not the Detroit Lions. And that's I don't want to be like too disrespectful. DeAndre Swift is a stud. He had a day. I don't think Jared Goff's as bad as some people try to make him out to be. They brought in DJ Chark. They have TJ Hawkinson. They drafted Jameis. They have some guys. They don't have 35 point per game, in week 1 type of offense. That was really bad. And a lot of it came in the 4th quarter. But I think overall the storyline of the day, if there's a negative, is what is Jonathan Gannon? Because what was the argument last year, Gint? He doesn't have the talent. He doesn't have the personnel to do what he wants to do. Well, what the hell did you do yesterday? Because Kaiser White flashed, James Bradbury flashed, C.J. Gardner-Johnson flashed. We know what Slay is. T.J. Edwards had a decent game. Speaking of, did Nakobe Dean get on the field yesterday? I think I saw him 2 snaps. I don't know what the snap count is, but that was really, really bad from Gannon's personnel use. And I think, I'm going to be honest with you, if that is to keep up over the next 2 or so weeks, like if Monday night against Minnesota, Jordan Davis is only on the field for 29% of the snaps again, I think other personnel, such as the head coach and maybe upper management, are going to sit down with Jonathan Gannon, because I don't even think they're that naive to where Nick Sirianni can trot out onto in front of a microphone the day after a game and try to play off the fact that Jordan Davis is hardly on the field. And when he's on the field, here are the numbers. When he's off the field, here are the numbers. And week in and week out, you keep playing Marlon Tuipulotu over Jordan Davis. That's going to be a problem. There's no way it can keep up, but we'll see. Anything else you take away from yesterday, either side of the ball?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered it. Like, it was a tale of 2 sides of the ball. And early in the season, there was the same thing last year. It seemed like both sides of the ball couldn't play a complete game, and one side played well, the other side played well. So, again, it's early. And I don't think the run defense will be gashed as bad. At least I don't hope, because I'll pick up every single running back we play in every league that I have fantasy every week. I'll just trade them until I get the right guy. But, no, offense looked decent. Jalen Hurts, obviously there's improvements we made, get everyone involved. But I think we kind of touched our base with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, man. So with that being said, we'll be back on later in the week to talk Eagles Vikings. But real quick, before we do wrap up, I have two short little segments for us. So Ed, first one, 76ers, not far away. Well, when does camp start? Has to be soon. It's September 12th. It's like what, a week or two, probably?
That's a great question. I'm going to give you the answer in 1 second.
So they're right around the corner, and they bring in another bench piece in Montrezl Harrell. It's something we haven't spoken of yet. So real quick, thoughts on this signing? Obviously, sign them to one of their what was it? One of their 12. Yeah, there you go. Sign them to one of their vet minimums. It's a great I believe it's a 2-year deal with he has a player option after the first year. He's your backup center. I don't think there's really any ifs, ands, or buts about it. My favorite part of the signing was Sixers Twitter and rage in the fact that B-Ball Paul is going to see less time. And I just want to get your thoughts on this because I'm not getting the outrage. This isn't DeAndre Jordan, okay? This isn't that signing from last year. It's a good signing. This is a 6th man of the year under Doc Rivers. He wasn't the 6th man of the year in 2014, Gint. He was 6th man of the year 2 years ago. Okay, he's a rim runner. He's a bucket himself. He averaged almost 12 points a game and 5 or 6 boards a game, right? So this isn't DeAndre Jordan. This could be more so in a different way because he's not going to be a rim protector, clean up the glass, dunk kind of guy. But this to me is closer to Andre Drummond signing than it is like a DeAndre Jordan type of backup 5 signing. And people aren't seeing it that way. They think B-Ball Paul's not going to play. Doc's going to fall in love with using Trez in a playoff series, and Trez is going to get manhandled coming off the bench behind Joel Embiid. And I don't see it that way. I see it as a strength, not a negative.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It came out that Philadelphia was just waiting for he had a little situation going on.
Yeah.
Philadelphia was just waiting to see how that played out before they wanted him. Apparently, they wanted him the whole time. So, and apparently James Harden was a huge advocate for getting it. Bro, when your best players speak, you listen, you do what they say. Plain and simple, It's how the NBA works. Joel Embiid wanted PJ Tucker, you get PJ Tucker. If James Harden wants Montrezl Harrell as his backup center, you go get Montrezl Harrell. And again, dude, Embiid missed playoff games this year, and we didn't win those games. And I'm not sitting here saying now we have Montrezl Harrell. If that happens, we're going to win those games. But it gives you a different look, and it gives you a different look off the bench. It gives you a guy, again, that averaged, like you said, I think it was like 13-6 last year as a whole. When he got traded, it was like 12-7 or 12-5 or something. Again, he was good. He is good. He's not this washed up, like you said, cooked goods like DeAndre Jordan.
He's under 30.
Again,
28.
The biggest thing is when James Harden says he wants him, if he's an advocate, you go out and you get him. And he's had success with Doc. So this is a great signing to me. Right. This isn't a good signing. This is not a Paul Reed, yada, yada. Like, just forget about Paul Reed and realize your team got better with Montrezl.
Listen, and because everyone, if people are going to listen to what we're saying and take it as, well, did you see what Doc did with a guy he's in love with and a guy he had success with back in the day do last year? Yeah, I know how that much. We criticize Doc more than anybody on this show. The point is, it's not similar in any stretch of the imagination. DeAndre Jordan might have had success with Doc Rivers a decade ago, and Doc was wrong for sticking with him as long as he did. Montrezl Harrell had success with Doc the year before Doc came here 2 years ago. He's 28, 29 years old. Like you said, if James Harden wants him, you go and get him. And he's the final piece on this roster, on this bench, that goes with the entire identity they tried to build this offseason. Toughness, physicality. He brings that and a lot more of it. You add him, you add PJ Tucker. That's a hell of an offseason to address physicality.
Now, like we got.
Oh my god.
No, and the biggest thing with Montrezl.
Did you see his? Hold on, real quick. I know you're talking about the fight with Ferk.
Yeah. Then he got jumped.
Did you see him turn the ball over in overtime with 0.2 seconds?
No, it's hilarious.
I have to send you the clip. He just kept dribble between his legs. Went one with like 4 seconds left in overtime with the game on the line. Went one more dribble between crossover, lost the ball, went the other way. Team took it the other way. Game over. So someone quote tweeted it was like, I can't deal with this in May anymore.
I think the biggest thing with the Monticello thing, as I'm looking at, is, bro, look at the games played. Played 76 in 2017, 82 in 2018, 63 in 2019,
Right,
69 in 2020, 71 in last year. Like, dude, the guy plays, and that's huge.
Mhm.
He's healthy, which, again, is your backup big with a guy that, if he can come in and produce, you give Embiid nights off. And then B-Ball Paul will be there, and all
Right.
these guys that really want B-Ball Paul to keep the play. But dude, Montrezl Harrell was a part of a really, really good offseason for the Sixers. I think it's almost underrated how good the offseason was. When you're a championship contender and you fill the biggest holes you have, to me, it's obviously it's not trading for Kevin Durant or all that nonsense.
Right.
But when you fine tune things that were blatant holes in the playoffs, you had a great offseason. You got, again, tougher was the word everyone wanted, right? You couldn't get much tougher than the guys you brought in, unless you brought in like James Johnson, who does MMA. Like, it doesn't get much tougher than what the Sixers got, and productive. PJ Tucker was the third best player on a playoff team last year, and Montrezl Harrell, like we just said, had a good year last year. Sixers got infinitely better. I love the move, and again, they wanted him. It's a 2-year deal. It's not a 1-year deal. I know it's a player option second year, but Philly wanted him, and the back was apparently Markieff Morris or whatever. But the Sixers got who they wanted, and James Harden wanted.
And by the way, I'm so happy that it's Montrezl Harrell and not Markieff
Morris. Yeah,
like,
yeah, I agree.
Marcus Morris, we probably could have had a closer conversation. Markieff, like, I know people wanted him. He's from Philly. I was good. Markieff Morris didn't even touch the floor in a Sixers uniform for me. But, and the last thing to bring up with Harrell is it's not just the toughness and physicality. Again, he's going to bring something different to this bench unit that they really haven't had in a backup center in a long time. Dwight was a rim protector, rim runner. Andre Drummond was the same kind of thing. Obviously, we know what Paul Reed kind of is at this point. We knew what DeAndre Jordan was last year when they brought him in. He can score with Joel off the floor. And then if he needs to be a slasher, a rim runner, someone like that, not only is his style going to fit next to James Harden, it should fit next to Tyrese Maxey, and it should fit next to DeAnthony Melton, who I know he's not going to be a true point guard, but he's a guy who can handle the ball for you off the bench as that secondary kind of ball handler. So he should fit stylistically with the rest of the front court that the Sixers have, or the backcourt that the Sixers have. So we will see. Last thing before we wrap up, the Phillies, I forgot about them for a week. The Phillies won 5 of 6. They swept the Nationals last night after a 9-hour rain delay. Alec Boehm hits a 2-run home run the 7th to win it, to sweep out the Nats. They're off today. They're back at it against the Marlins for the umpteenth time this week. I just have a question, man. So again, they've gained ground now. They actually, this is the weird thing. Think about how much buzz there was around this Phillies team 2-3 weeks ago. The entire city couldn't stop talking about them. They lost some ground in the wild card standings. Oh my God, here comes the September flop again. Now we forgot about them, and they've gained a game and a half on the Padres for the second wild card. Forget the Brewers for the third wild card. They're a game and a half up on San Diego for the second wild card. I want to put a poll out on it, but why is it that we've forgotten about it? And there's numerous amount of reasons, but I want to know like what the biggest one is. Is it this right here? This is option one.
It's exactly what it is.
Is it a long season? Is it like to me, it just comes down to one simple thing. This team and this sport in this city, more so than anywhere else, just is so life consuming. It's unreal. And again, I think in probably 2 or so weeks, when you get really you get closer to that finish line for the Phillies, people will start coming around more. We've seen the Eagles for a month or so already get back into the playoff push for the Phillies, but for the next week or two, it's going to be Eagles, 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 and hopefully the Phillies can stay alive. But
yeah, I think that Mets series that weekend when the Mets took over the ballpark kind of bogged things down entirely. Kind of gave a realization of what.
Well, then and then we went on the West Coast trip and went 1-5 or whatever the hell we went.
Again, as it gets closer, it'll pick up for sure. But everyone's footballed out right now, and that's how it usually goes.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up this Victory Monday edition of the Phaithful Fanatic Show. The show, even though I feel like we were we're pretty negative today on the East, specifically the defensive side of the ball. And it's not.
We were constructive.
Yeah, it's really not how I wanted to be because I am happy about the win. I am not one of these fans on Sport Talk Radio calling in, freaking out because the defense gave up 35 points. However, it definitely is a concern. But I do think this fan base needs to be more positive on a Victory Monday than what we have been so far. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. Check Matt out on Twitter at Matt_McGinty. And as always, DSM Media at DSM_Media. Have a great rest of your night.
And Philadelphia has it.